before.
Today, I'm going to start a series of 6 videos on technology in battle. Right? We'll cover various issues of technology in battle. We've seen the impact of technology in the Russia-Ukraine war. We've seen the impact of technology in the Israel-Hamas war, as also the Israel-Iran conflict, that short conflict which took place. And then, of course, what's happening in the South China Sea. I took the overview of all the technologies which are, being used. Some new, old. Some cheap, some costly. Some effective, some ineffective. And I put them all together, and I saw that look, technology has made a huge impact in battlefield. And then I said, let me disaggregate this whole thing. We keep talking of technology without saying where it is being applied in which part of the battle and how it is being applied. Then I found that this whole business of technology is a vast ocean. So I've broken it down into 6 parts. Of course, in the last part, I'm going to see if technology wins wars. There's no doubt that technology has made a huge impact on the battlefield, which I'll explain to you shortly. But does it win wars? That's the point which we have to look at. Okay, here we go. At any point of time, if you feel there's a particular technology you want me to discuss or one facet of technology you want me to discuss, please put it down and get back to me through the email. The comments go, or you put it in the comment section. And I'll pick it out and have a separate episode on that if I'm not able to finish in 6 episodes. Okay, the first thing is technology has to be related to battle. And that is fundamental. And today is a time of multi-domain warfare. I have shown this slide many times, but I'm going to now talk about it from a technology viewpoint. And you'll see a whole story. Now look at it from the top. Air, land, and sea are conventional domains. That's the domains through which warfare happens. Then you come to space, cyberspace, nuclear, and the electromagnetic spectrum. These are technology domains. And these technology domains actually underpin every other domain of warfare today. Right. And these are new technologies. And we'll talk of it as we go along. Then you look at the traditional domains of energy resources, politics, ideology, diplomacy, and economy. Even in these domains, technology is dominating. The amount of fake videos which have come out in this election, all technology dominated. Deep fakes, cyber war, info war, all part of politics and diplomacy and what have you. And then the cognitive domains of public opinion, legal warfare, and influence operations or information warfare. Call it whichever way you want. The Chinese term it as 3 warfare strategy, but I call it the cognitive domain. Now, the cognitive domain is completely underpinned by the technology domain. So there's an umbilical connect between these domains. And then, of course, the health domain, which came up during the pandemic. As we go along, this multidimensional, multi-domain warfare will also span climate change, energy, and resources I have already included. Now, this multi-domain warfare is a thing which is happening in day and night, as shown below, and it could be war, or it could be peace, or anything in between. Who are the actors in this? The actors are state, non-state actors like Hamas, Houthis, and Hezbollah, and even state-sponsored NGOs oblique MNCs. They also could take part in this war. What are the means? They could be hard and soft. They could be conventional and non-conventional. Anything goes, and technology underpins this. Okay. Now the battlefield has changed, and this is a very interesting article which I found in Washington Post. And what does this Washington Post article say? It's a an interview with a Russian and a Ukrainian general, and both the Ukrainian and the Russian general have agreed that the battle space is different. It's changed. How has it changed? That's the important part. Look, what do they say? They say tanks, manned aircraft, and traditional maneuver forces are sitting ducks. Right? Advanced drones and digital battle management systems have a decisive impact. They also say Ukraine is an algorithm war. Digital intelligence and targeting systems have rewritten the rules of conflict. The fog of war has cleared, and the battlefield is quite transparent. Now, any movement by large units are instantly visible and vulnerable. All this is feasible only through technology. Air defense, which many of us have started to neglect, it has won an unexpected triumph over military aviation. Right? And aviation has lost the ability to operate en masse over enemy territory, and even must fly with caution over its own territory. Air forces have to be cautious because you can be attacked in your own territory in air. So air as a medium has become hostile. The air domain is a hostile domain, and the concept of air power has changed. And we'll talk of this later, how concept of air power has changed. Artillery has made a huge comeback, right? He says superiority of artillery has revealed a significant lag in Russian artillery and missile systems and requires their priority radical rearmament in the next few years. And the rearmament will be coming through technology. The best weapons today must be small and cheap systems that fly into target like tiny suicide bombers can be almost impossible to stop. Very important. Small and cheap suicide attacks, hostility of the air environment. These are new things which have come into the battlefield. And this has replicated itself in the Hamas and the Israel conflict in Gaza, and also is replicating itself in South China Sea. Okay, so you have a situation where traditional weapons like tanks, artillery, aircraft, and infantry are on the verge of, I wouldn't say extinction, but they're sidelined. Right? There's a environment in which increased domain awareness through space, UAVs, networking, AI, and narratives is coming to the fore. And when you look at the future, you see UAVs, rockets and missiles, digital and space, and nuclear capability jumping ahead. And that's what is staring ahead, these technologies. So, if this is the case, what are the technologies which underpin the whole story? But more importantly, hybrid war is the new normal. There is no the erstwhile conventional war is today hybrid, and we have to fight that, whether we like it or not. Now, once upon a time, India was faced with a paradigm of a northern front, a western front, two front, and the insurgencies and the internal front were two half fronts. We called it the two front situation. Now it has changed. The way I look at it, and the way things are happening on ground, because everything comes from ground, is that there's a Tibet, a LAC theater, call it Northern theater, whatever you want. There's a Western theater. And this Western theater goes beyond Pakistan into the North Arabian Sea. Already our Navy is deployed there. So virtually this Western theater is a tri-service theater, operational. And then there's a maritime theater which is emerging right from Myanmar, Kyakfo Fort, Chakfo Fort, whatever you call it, down to Maldives and beyond. Andaman Nicobar, Lakadives, all that. Though that circle is skewed, you can understand what I'm talking about. The Indian Ocean and the Bay of Bengal. So our battle space is changing physically on ground. Technology is changing. The battle spaces in the ongoing conflicts have changed. So we need to change. This is my oft-repeated, formulation. Armed forces are strong enough to defend the territorial integrity of India. On that, I've never had a doubt. But the question is, are they modern enough to anchor India's rise as a regional power? That is the question. And the next paradigm is technology does not win wars. People win wars. Economy does not fight. People fight. So where does technology fit in this entire paradigm of battle is what we're going to examine. Okay. Once upon a time, we saw second wave technologies, the industrial era technologies, where USA was producing military aircraft by the hour, tanks by the day, warships by the week, or even less. The entire American industry focused on churning out military equipment which could beat the Germans and Japanese qualitatively and quantitatively. They did it successfully. Just think, today Russia is not able to beat Ukraine because it doesn't have the logistics stamina. It is running around to get ammunition from as disparate sources as Iran, North Korea, and probably China also. China is building an industrial base like what the Americans did in the last century. And the Americans themselves are struggling with lack of an industrial base, where China has outpaced them in building a very formidable navy in numbers. And the Americans are struggling to catch up today. And this leaves us with a question: where are we? The defense industrial complex which we have to develop is of prime importance. That is the base on which technologies can develop. If you don't have that, technologies don't develop. I'm giving a theoretical construct to this whole story of technology and relating it to today's battle. Okay, the third wave technologies, the information era technologies was during the Gulf War, where people called it a revolution in military affairs. Today, we are talking of the digital fourth wave technologies. These are all disruptive technologies. This is leading us on to disruption in military affairs. Whether this particular terminology is useful or not, I don't know, but it is happening. Right? Okay, now I'll talk of the military technologies of this century. The 12 military technologies of this century, which I have outlined, will remain in this century and this will keep coming in some form or the other. Right? Now, I'll discuss each one of them in a bit of a detail. And those which need elaboration, I will have a separate session on it. Okay. Robotics and unmanned systems are ruling the roost. What comes as part of robotics and unmanned systems? Drones, largely drones of various kinds. But we'll talk of this in the next episode. It has impacted the battlefield almost for everything. Kamikaze drones, logistics drones, surveillance drones, and what have you. AI. Now, AI has impacted, or rather started impacting the battlefield in many ways. AI has impacted kinetic warfare, AI has impacted non kinetic warfare. The scope is huge. And this is one subject which I'm going to tackle separately. Because people talk of AI without realizing what AI is all about. What kinds of AI? How is it applied? Where is it utilized? And what does it lead to? And we have to speak, when we talk of AI, we must speak of the domain awareness. Without domain awareness, we are going nowhere. Then we'll talk of cyber and EW. Cyber is something which all of us know. There are so many cases where cyber attacks have, come to the fore. Whether it's shutting off Bombay or the cyber attacks in Ames, we have so many, examples. And as networks increase, networks proliferate, right? Cyber attacks will increase. So there's a requirement for us to be cyber proof. And in the past few, Lalita, in the past few conflicts, EW has made a huge impact, and we'll discuss about this. And EW is one cheap technology which has impacted costly systems. And as we enter the digital age, communication and networking are almost mandatory. I mean, I don't have to tell you, every mobile system is a communication, platform and a networking platform. And the amount of information which you pack in a normal mobile phone is phenomenal. And I'll talk day after how this is being used, especially in Ukraine. Space. Space is another domain where things have gone completely, awry. The proliferation of military utilization of space is phenomenal. And that is why I thought I'll talk of ubiquity in space day after, or the next after one of the episodes, a separate episode. because space is being used in the terrestrial battle in air, land, and sea domains. It is being used in space versus space, and it is being used. Space is being used as a platform to affect for a ground effect, space to ground and space to space. And today we are talking of co-orbital systems, where Russia has recently launched a system in co-orbit along with uh, a US satellite tracking. Then the next technology is semiconductors. Now, semiconductors are something which have just proliferated in almost anything you want to do in this sphere, whether it's military or civilian. And depending on the advanced semiconductor you use or not, you get the results. In most cases, 85% of the cases, you don't need advanced semiconductors of 3 or 5 nanometers. But if you don't have that technology, a lot of advanced technologies are denied to you. Then the issue of additive manufacturing and new materials. Least understood, but most important. Every weapon system which is to be newly designed is being manufactured through additive manufacturing. Complex designs, new materials, right? And it is additive manufacturing is also known as 3D printing. We'll talk of it as we go along. Then the next story is of battlefield energy. Energy is fundamental to conflict. If you don't have energy, you can't survive. The days when you could use normal energy or the fuel or a fossil fuel based energy in places like Siachen and high altitudes, taking truckloads of fuel from distances like Chandigarh to Ladakh are probably over. We have to think differently. If our effort goes into humping so much fossil fuel over thousands of kilometers using thousands of trucks, then we're not going to fight a battle efficiently or economically. This is something which our country can't afford anymore. Then let me talk of cloud memory. Most underrated technology, but the most important technology of the whole lot. What is cloud memory? I'm going to talk of it a little later. Unless you have the capability, cloud memory is not something which resides in a cloud. It resides in a building with computers. And I'll talk of that a little later. We don't have it in India. If you don't have it, you can't fight a battle tomorrow. Because you're going to fight a digital battle, you need memory. You have to create it. You have to manage it. You have to retrieve it. Data. If you're talking of AI, you need memory. And then you need engines, propulsion, guidance, and control technologies. One way of looking at it is rocket technology. But rocket technology is making it only specific to rockets and missiles. But you need all these in even vehicles, A vehicles, B vehicles, aircraft, everything, even auto rickshaws. And this is a hardcore technology which is again getting redefined. Synthetic biology. You need it. If you want great cures in the battlefield in double quick time, this is the way to go. But I'm not going to cover this in a great manner. Or quantum computing, which is going to completely redefine technology over the next 5, 6 years. It's still over the horizon. What is the beauty of these technologies? The beauty of these technologies, or rather the important aspect of these technologies, as these are all interrelated and they are all dual purpose. That is why I put certain things in yellow. For instance, AI, OpenAI dominates. Networking, Google, Microsoft, they dominate. SpaceX dominate. These are all widely used in the civil setup. And in the recent conflicts, these capabilities have been transferred onto the battlefield. For example, the Starlinks of SpaceX has been used extensively in Ukraine. Right? AI, generative AI, has been used by all countries to build their narratives. Okay. So this much for the military technologies of this century, which are dual use. But more importantly, they're all interdependent. You want cloud, you need semiconductors. Right? You want cloud to be effective, you need to go through space. Right? And to build a network which is semiconductor based, cloud based, etc., 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 you need AI. You want to do cyber operations, you need AI, you need quantum computing. And robotics. So they're all interrelated technologies. And how these get interrelated, I will explain to you a little later through a practical thing. Now, this is something which I've told everyone, almost everyone, wherever I've said this in the Northern Command, I've said this in the Southern Command, wherever I've gone, I've said it. And I must repeat it because this is the application of technology in battle. If you don't understand this, we are not going anywhere in technology. In high altitude, you need battlefield transparency, so you need space, you need GIS, you need manned unmanned systems, you need night vision sensors and AI, just to name a few technologies. So you need range. Always greater ranges is what we are questing for. So you need propulsion, you need manned and unmanned systems to have a greater reach. You need control and guidance and all those technologies which go important. You can go down the line on each. For each aspect which you want in the high altitudes, you have a matching technology to go with it. Right? So, if you don't have a bevy of technologies which are based on the military technologies of what I said, those 12 technologies, a mix and match of these is what will enable you to fight in battle. Now, take this case. You have Air Force with its weapons, Navy with its weapons. I've broken down Army, Infantry, Mech Forces, Artillery, Engineers, and Signals. But let's take one case where artillery wants to increase range of a missile system. If it wants to increase the range of, say, the Pinaka missile system, it needs propulsion technology. If the propulsion technology comes in and range is increased, then you need navigation. Right? Because you need accuracy. If that navigation technology comes in and you have accuracy, you need sensors. You need gyroscopes. You need various sensors to ensure that you go in the right direction. Then you need precision technology, basically control and guidance. ISR, to get you the lat long of the target. The met conditions. All those factors which go into precision come into it, right? If you have the sensors to take the thing, the external factors come in. Now, if you have all this, you need ISR. What is called the Recce strike integration. Now, if you have ISR going, you need to have it real time through networks. And if you have networks, you have to cyber proof it. And if you have to cyber proof yourself, you need AI. So, one little requirement of increasing range today takes in all these technologies. And then, of course, if artillery is extending its range, so will Navy and Air Force like to do. And that means these technologies have to be applied in a joint services environment, jointness, joint thinking, which means you need to have a technology roadmap, right? So, how do you think of that? If you have to have a technology roadmap, you need to have a national security doctrine. The technology which you want to fight with, you're going to use it through that. Lot to think. Okay, when you look at technology, always technology which is owned is cheap. Technology which is bought is always costly. We need to invest in technology if India has to be a power of reckoning. And we need leadership to ingest technology. But this I will explain to you a little later. Right. There are certain challenges which the military leadership faces. Right? Anytime. It is not only now, we face it in the last generation, this generation faces it, and the next generation will also face it. What is it? The threat is always changing. The threat is always morphing. I showed you earlier how the threat perception or the operational paradigm of India is changing. Our economy is changing. Increased jointness is coming in. Technology is changing. The technologies which were prevalent 5 years back changed. And then there's this, desire to reach self-sufficiency. If you put all this together, the military leadership has a huge problem. So when people tell me, so why don't we have this? Why don't we have that? This, that, all that. You need to have a balance of all this. This is where you have to understand where technology comes in. You need to have a very clear idea as to which technology you need and with which technology you want to fight. I'll talk about it a little later. Then there's always an issue of defense budgets. Everyone cries about it, right? And this is an article which I found in, this cartoon I found in one of our articles. The defense budget throughout our history has had to deal with the conventional threat. It has had to cater for the new technologies, and the budget has always been contracting. So there's a requirement for us to have our priorities right. Like I said, the fact that you have to make your own technology and make it cheap, it becomes paramount. But are we doing that? For that, you need to have a clarity of thought how you're going to go about the whole story. Okay. Now, what is a critical technology? Every technology cannot be critical. So when you look at a critical technology, then you say, is this technology critical to maintain my current capability? For example, if I have an aircraft, I want to upgrade it. I need that technology becomes critical because it maintains my current capability or upgrades my current capability marginally. Is it to achieve a critical goal that I want to be self-sufficient in missile technology? So that becomes a critical technology, right? Because I need self-sufficiency. That's my criticality in missiles to counter the China threat. Does a technology confer you critical strength? For example, you want special materials in space, special materials in high altitude are virtually the same because the environmental conditions are the same. So if you have good material technology, it gives you the critical strength to fight in high altitude and explore space. So which are these technologies? And then it will give you critical capability based on strength, on trends. If AI is a technology which rules many places, you need to have that technology. So you have to identify those technologies which you consider are critical. Okay? If you don't have them, you're going to have a problem. Okay. Then, and this is a slide which I have shown again to the complete army hierarchy. And this is something which one needs to understand. The best technology is one which wins you battle. If you don't have that technology, I mean, it doesn't matter which technology it is. If you win it, if you use that technology and win your battle, that's the best technology. The latest technology might not win you the battle. Understand that. And the cheapest and the most effective technology is one which you own, which I've already said. And the costliest technology is what you import. And technology upgradation is the name of the game. When you look at technology holistically, there is no other choice but to be technologically self sufficient and make your own technology. And we need a national strategy for military technology. And it has to encompass original research for new technologies. You have to talk of upgradation. You have to talk of substitution. How you substitute, uh, or rather, how you do import substitution through indigenous technologies. And then, if you can't do it, can you adopt another technology completely? You forget that technology and go in for another technology. If you have a rocket system with a particular propulsion system and you don't have that, can you think of another propulsion system with another technology which does the same job? Even if it's marginally lesser, go for it. Have an alternate route. I can give you many more examples like this. Okay. Now, how does technology affect battle outcomes? That's a question which we have to ask ourselves. All these three wars which are ongoing have told us that new technologies become a revolutionary advantage in war when they alter the capacity of states to create and project military power. Right? Russia has used their rockets and missiles extensively in the Ukraine war to project military power. So has Hamas, Hezbollah, and Houthis. Right? When I say capacity of states, it could also be non-state actors. Right? And Iran uses missile technology and rocket technology. Now, technology can create greater firepower to increase the cost in terms of life and limb. And the way Russia has used its firepower proves this. It has focused its technology on firepower to create greater firepower and more lethal firepower. So it has increased the cost to Ukraine much beyond what Ukraine can afford. Today, one of the biggest dangers Ukraine is facing is, will it have enough people to fight? Alternately, it can decrease the human cost of war by limiting losses and making escalation less likely, thus preserving manpower and bolstering political will. Right? The best example for this is Hamas. They have used tunnel technologies to preserve their manpower and bolster their political will. Of course, they have the hostages also along with it. That's okay. Technology shifts the balance between offense and defense, right? It actually decides whether you want to be on the offensive or on the defensive. You see a country like China, it uses technology to be on the offensive always, aggressive. Okay, this is important. Technology affects a state's ability to fund wars and to supply the battlefield. If you don't have the technology, you'll struggle like Russia is struggling today in many respects. That is why it has had to resort to import from South Korea and drones from Iran. Okay, it can do this by enabling powerful war economies, which I have spoken of, or by revolutioning the creation and production of weapons, and ideally by doing both. Have a solid defense industrial base and have your own technologies. It can decrease resource dependencies so that states can control supply chains and sustain their ability to carry out a conflict over time. Supply chains which emanate from within your own country will stand you good in war. Supply chains which come from outside place you at the mercy of others and sanctions and everything. So, this is how technology, this is today I've given you an overview of the way technologies are going to affect battle, how technology affects battle. What are the technologies which are the macro technologies and how they have an interplay? What I'll do now is I'll take a few technologies and I'll explain how what those technologies are. Some might not even understand, right? Today, I will, in addition to what I've said, I'm going to cover cloud. People don't understand what cloud is, but this is probably the most sheet anchor of our technology. You want to be an AI powered, you need cloud. You need extensive networking, you need cloud. You need AI based domain awareness, you need cloud. Wherever you want, you need cloud. Cloud is like a home. If you don't have a home, you don't fight. Okay. Okay. What is cloud computing? I mean, let's understand this. Cloud computing is the delivery of computing services, including servers, storage, databases, networking, software, analytics, and intelligence over the internet to offer faster innovation, flexible resources, and economies of scale. In a commercial environment, you typically pay only for cloud services you use, helping you lower your operating costs, run your infrastructure more efficiently, and scale as your business needs change. But in battle, if you don't have cloud, you don't survive. Right? You need cloud services suited to battle. Strong armies have their own cloud. Are we doing anything about it? I think we've started thinking about it. Okay. Just for information, this is one of the cloud centers of Microsoft. It's a huge center, right? You can see rows and stacks of computers. The Microsoft data, I'm just giving you a idea of a cloud center, right? The Microsoft data center at Quincy is 2 million square feet, more than 20 buildings, each building the size of 2 football fields, big enough to house 2 commercial airplanes, home to hundreds and thousands of servers, computers, and millions of hard disks, all constantly being replaced with faster and more efficient models every 3 years. So that's the extent of the cloud which we have to build. If you want to fight in the digital battle tomorrow, or if you want to be one of the great powers in the world, you need to have. Do we have it? We don't have it. Most of us in India are dependent on outside cloud systems, including many of our critical systems. There's a there's a movement, there's a realization now coming in that we need cloud. But cloud needs investment. And that investment is constant. Okay. Look at the global data center presence. How many cloud centers are there globally? I mean, it astounds you. All over the world, major countries, powerful countries have cloud centers. You see this today, clouds are dominated by USA, China, and Europe. If you want to be a power of reckoning, you need to have your own cloud center. Okay? What do you use cloud for? You deploy, quickly build, deploy, and scale applications, web, mobile, API, whatever you want. You need cloud. You want to test and build your apps, you need cloud. You want to store, backup, and recover data, you need cloud. As I'm talking, all what I'm talking is being stored in some cloud by YouTube. So that tomorrow you want to see it, it comes from that cloud. You want to analyze data, you need cloud. You want to stream audio and video like I'm doing, it's being done over cloud. You want to embed intelligence, you need cloud. You want to deliver software on demand, you need cloud. What is in your iPhone? It's cloud. It's coming from cloud. And cloud is not, and mind you, Microsoft has about 8 to 10 centers like what I showed you. Right? And if you look at certain military applications of cloud, these are it. Situational awareness, if you want, you need cloud. Data sharing, real-time access across the architecture, you need cloud. It reduces your electromagnetic footprint. Right? You don't have to keep storing devices all over. Right? You don't have to keep backing up data wherever you are. So you can be light in battle because your cloud is somewhere. But if you have cloud somewhere, you need network. The technology, which I said, network technology and communication technology has to come in. One technology leads to the other. It can enable stronger IT security and resistance to cyber attacks. Your data will be safe. Why is the Bombay grid shut down? Because it didn't have a cloud. It was dependent on someone else's cloud. Why was AIMS attacked? Because their data center would have been attacked. They didn't have a backup to come out because they didn't have a cloud. If your systems, and we are talking, our Prime Minister keeps talking of a digital economy. If you want a digital economy, you need cloud. And correct me if I'm wrong, do we have cloud centers in India? I don't think so. The consciousness is coming now because their complete data then gets localized. It doesn't go to Quincy or Seattle or Redmond or some Mund, right? It all comes within, right? It enables efficient and secure logistics and supply chains. It enables better access control, preventing hacking. You can't be hacked if you're on the cloud because the cloud center will have its own security protocols. Your size, weight, and power, all costs reduce. You are able to handle increasing data volume, and you have better computational power. You reduce cooling and power requirements in battle if you have cloud. And actually, if you look at it, cloud is fundamental to what you want to do in battle. And very few of us know about it. Right? Okay. Now, this is what I had wanted to tell you today. I have covered the military technologies of this century. One, military technologies of this century and how they affect in battle. These are broad things. And what are the factors which govern these military technologies? How does military leadership handle these military technologies? What are the constraining issues? What is the battlefield environment? All these factors come in before we say that we need to go in for a particular technology. Day after tomorrow, I will cover the technologies which are today being rampantly used in battle, which are small and cheap, as also those technologies which might not look small and cheap, but they prove to be small and cheap. And some technologies which are being widely used. Along with that, I'll cover things like drones and things like that, which we all talk of. Things like space, AI, rockets, I will completely separately. Right? I'll have separate sessions because they demand that, and because the thinking has to change. Right. With this, I'll take a few questions on right from the